on Private Game Reserve, and we've got these two beautiful side-striped jackals that are out foraging. Oh, that one's found something and gobbled it up very quickly. What a lovely way to start the morning. My name's Damon, and behind the camera this morning we have Johan, and we're going to be exploring some of the reserve this morning, maybe heading towards where the Pride of Lions was last night with their wildebeest carcass, to see if they've maybe moved at all. Yeah, lovely to have you all on board this morning with us. If you are under the age of 18, please send your questions through to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Otherwise, please go and register on our Wild Earth website, and then you can pop your questions or send us through your questions via the live Safari page. And we'd love to hear from you, so please send us lots of questions, any comments that you might have. This is live and interactive, so like I said, we'd love to hear from you. It seems like these two jackals are not content to stick around for too long. Oh, that's nice of you, jackal, coming back towards us, trotting down the road. So see how there's two of them together, more than likely a male and female. Side-striped jackals being animals that are monogamous or made for life. Invariably the territorial pair that lives around these open areas right here in front of Mountain Lodge. But I think that's the last that we're going to see of them. They seem to be heading down into quite a dense area, no doubt going to look for a nice spot to spend the daytime. So I think we're going to leave them. We're going to head out of here. We're going to go see if we can find where that Pride of Lions went from last night. Like last night, we did, of course, see that single lioness by herself. So we want to see if she's maybe joined up with the rest of the group, or if she's gone off to go look for her little ones. While we do that, let's go across and see what the weather looks like across the different locations, different Wild Earth locations.
Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to see that it's sunny everywhere, just not at Djuma just yet. Hi, everyone. It's me, Trishala. I've got Darren on camera with me, and yes, he is wearing my gloves. It's a bit chilly out here, guys. You can see that it's quite misty over the water, and we've got a beautiful hippo here at Treehouse Dam. Now, we came down to check Treehouse Dam because last night Tlalamba was on the move in this direction, but a little bit further south, and I was hoping that she would come through her usual route, which usually passed Treehouse Dam once upon a time. But alas, I found no tracks, at least not yet. So we're here at Treehouse Dam. That means that the den is quite close. We're going to go check it out. Djuma clan, see how they're doing. Last night there were a few of them out, but the adults just kind of came in and then left, so we couldn't spend time there. Hopefully this morning that'll change. Well, it's nice to see a hippo in the dam. Haven't seen one in this dam for a couple days. When I first arrived, there was a hippo in here, but it promptly left. Maybe this morning we'll find some in Buffelshoek Dam too. But I'm not going up that way, at least not this morning, or at least not in my plans just yet. But in the morning, plans do change. So much I want to see this morning, actually. I want some elephants, would love to see a leopard. And of course, our Djuma clan. Just want to take a moment to have a listen. This is a great time to listen out. The air is still really cold, so sound is going to be quite crisp and travel quite far. So hopefully we'll be able to hear, to get a clue about what we could expect this morning. Pretty quiet. I'm hearing just a few chirps here and there. But that's just for now. Let me head off to the den. And let me send you off to somebody. Didn't catch who it was. Did I hear Nick? Whoever it is, you're going to meet one of our other lovely guides to say good morning.
Good morning and welcome to And Beyond Ngala, everyone. Very brisk morning today. It is rather cold, and first up we have managed to find ourselves a giraffe that is busy feeding this morning on a zebra wood. My name is Nick, and behind camera we've got Paul this morning. And we decided to come out into the southern part of the reserve just to do something a little bit different and see what we could potentially find this morning. And giraffe was the first species on our list. A couple females, I think 3 females in this little group, and then one giraffe bull at the back, which is coming out. There you can see he's quite a lot bigger than the other 2 giraffes that we had in picture, and if you have a look at his ossicones, they're quite a lot thicker than the females. And he's on a bit of a mission. I don't know where he's walking to. It looked like he might have seen something. He was standing just in front of us, and then he moved quite far in that direction where he's walking, but I think now he's just starting to feed again, so nothing of too much interest. I'm sure you can hear the incredibly loud Aramak babblers calling behind us as well. And this part of the reserve is where part of one of our prides of lions have been spending time. We haven't been able to find them for the last couple of days. It's the sub-adult group with the 2 white lions. So maybe if we're very lucky this morning, they might pop out. There is also first time since I've been in Ngala that they have done a controlled fire burn in this part of the reserve. So I'm quite interested to go down and have a look what that is starting to look like, see if there's any new shoots coming through, and see if there's any animals in that burnt area. But you can see the giraffe really is enjoying its breakfast this morning. Looks like it is feeding on a baby knobthorn tree. "100%, Debbie. Giraffes are a fantastic animal to start drive with, and also to have them so relaxed and so close to the road. I mean, they're not usually nervous animals, but to have them just feeding and going about their business this morning is rather special." There've been quite a few giraffe around the property of recent times as well. We're not struggling to find them at the moment. Sometimes you'll go through stages where all you want to look for a giraffe and you just can't find them anywhere. Quite nice that they're being willing this morning. A couple of fork-tailed drongos following these giraffe this morning as well, waiting for them to disturb any insects. That was that blackbird that just swooped past, and then when the insects do get disturbed by the giraffe hooves, the drongo can swoop in and catch breakfast as well. There it goes again. That was very cool. Flying right at the feet of the giraffe. There were also some lions roaring this morning. Oh, there goes the drongo. There were also some lions roaring this morning just across from camp, and some of the other vehicles did go and have a look. Found tracks of one male lion. I wonder if it was of the dominant male or of that young male that we had last night. Tracks are very similar in size. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to sneak forward quickly, just so the silver cluster leaf branches are not... Actually, I can even maybe just reverse a tiny bit, so that the cluster leaf branches are out of our way.
Yeah,
there we go. And all 3 of them standing together now. So, Mike, I don't think giraffes have any close relatives in the bush. I know in Afrikaans they are called a kameelpaard, which is a camel horse, which you can see quite easily. I mean, they look a little bit camelish and a little bit horse-like, but with their long neck, I don't think they've got any close relatives. They're just such different creatures to anything that we get out here. They're actually feeding now. That bush that they're feeding on is a magic worry. And I had a look inside because magic worry is not a very nutritional plant. It's got lots of tannins in the leaf that prevent it from being overutilized, and you don't often see animals feeding on it. But then once I grabbed my binoculars and had a look, it looks like there's a knobthorn growing inside that magic worry. I'm sure that's what they actually will be feeding on. You can see the male, or the giraffe bull, his head is right inside that bush. So I won't tend to see giraffe bulls feeding with their heads down too often. But what we're going to do is we're going to keep going into the south and see if we can't pick up on any tracks of these lions, and maybe if we're very lucky, some other interesting animals. But for now, we're going to send you back to Pinda.
You're back with us at and Beyond Pinda, and we just thought we couldn't drive over this ridge and not show you this vista. The sun has just peeked out from above the clouds that are kind of hovering over the Indian Ocean out to the east. And there's this magnificent, almost like a lake of mist in the valley below. Look at that. Just so pretty. Again, there's almost like a haze that's coming from that's kind of hanging over the land. And it literally looks like a lake. That blanket of mist down over the floodplains and over the clearings here in the south of Ambient Pinda. I'm just going to keep quiet for a bit so we can listen to the sounds of the different birds calling around us. Darcy, you commenting on the sunrise, saying how amazing it is. Darcy, that's why I was saying we couldn't stop here and not show you guys. It was just too beautiful. Now, unfortunately, not too many birds calling in our nearby vicinity. I can hear a somber green bull somewhere in the thickets to my right. A couple of dark-capped bulbuls. But I think also it's just because it's coming into winter now, this time of year, most of the birds are trying to conserve their energy, not calling as loudly and as frequently as they normally would in summertime or springtime. Not necessarily as much food available to them, and of course they've also got to use their energy to keep warm. What a magnificent sunrise. And Johan and I just said to each other as we left the lodge, we said that there was going to be a really pretty sunrise this morning, all this mist. I'm so glad we were able to show it to you. It's now a purple-crested Turako that's joined the chorus from the riverbed below us. The big tall trees. And somewhere down there is where I think those lions might be. So we're going to keep on heading towards the rising sun. Let's go back across to Trish at Djuma, who's out on a bumble.
Ooh, a rising sun and lions, that sounds great. I have checked out the den. Nobody's home this morning. At least not yet, or maybe they've already been out. Either way, there's lots of tracks around there for their movements, but it could easily be from last night. So now we are on Elephant Carcass Road, and we are going to head towards Twin Dams Road and see if we pick up on anything there. I also like to do Leadwood, just look around there and then even go a little bit further west once we've done the southeast, and check out Zoe's. Hopefully we'll pick up on something, on tracks, etc. I always find that first hour in the morning kind of crucial to set yourself up for whatever it is you need to find, or whatever is available to be found this morning. So that's why I like to get checking on all the places I expect to see some clues first thing in the morning, and then once I know what's around, or once I know that there's hardly anything around, settle into looking for other smaller, interesting things that we sometimes overlook. Like that marula that had that growth coming out of it, that's new growth, where it had broken yesterday. Those kind of things. I don't ever like to let those things go. But in this first hour, I like to concentrate on looking for any predator movement. Hyena tracks are almost everywhere. There's also seems to be a kind of an entrance on Gari Main close to between like Shibamu and Zoe's, where I'll always see heaps and heaps of hyena tracks moving in and out Little Gari and Djuma. But like heaps and heaps and heaps. What's also nice about driving on Twin Dams Road, speaking of heaps of hyenas walking about, hello you guys. Just get into position, I don't know where they came from. They're just walking along. Oh, no, don't run. Just in front there. They don't like to be followed. Let's just turn the bend and see if we can see them. Looks like a couple sub-adults. Hey, cub as well. Where are you all coming from? Or where are you all going to? That is also a good question. Let me show them to you here quickly. So like I said, they don't like to be followed. And if they're in the block and I'm on the road, that's fine. Look, they're doing a bit of a territorial patrol. Anal pasting as they go. This little guy. Yep, reacquainting myself and my bacteria with that of my clan. Hi Lisa, you'd like to know if the hyenas could already be looking for breakfast? Most certainly. As they patrol like this, they won't give up any chance to find some breakfast while they're at it. But because there's so many members in the clan, some can patrol while others go and find some breakfast. But it's everyone for themselves when it comes to food. So as these guys go, they'll find some breakfast. As the mums go about, they'll look for their own breakfast. The cubs won't really be looking for their own breakfast. They'll mostly be caring about mum's availability of milk and the occasional snack here and there. They can definitely eat meat. You'll just find that they don't eat very much of it. They more prefer to play with food items like bones or bits of flesh in them, etc. They play with them a lot. They obviously eat bits of it too, but mum's milk is number one. Okay, they turned down Mamba. Hyenas, for me, are the most difficult animal to track, not even just looking at tracks, but visually. They move so erratically that it can be very difficult to predict their movements. Interesting. Let's watch them from here. I'm going to follow these guys while keeping a good distance so I don't scare them. Oh, it's not them being scared that they don't like to be followed. It's just they know us very well. They just prefer not to have something on their tail, I guess. But it's interesting that they're moving this way, so I'm going to follow them. Maybe they'll take us to another predator. It's happened many times before. You just got to kind of have the patience to hang back sufficiently so that they don't feel like I'm on their tail. I mean, that's how all the good spies do it anyway, right? I'm glad they're using the road. So often they'll be in and out of the block. Makes it a bit difficult to do what I'm doing right now. Okay, where did you go? Mamba or Mamba Loop? Do you have a view? Are they still on the move? Oh, okay. Okay, let's wait here. Might see a little head pop out every now and then.
Okay, they've gone.
Let's keep moving. Hopefully they'll get onto the road again. Pop our noses here. And wait. Luckily with hyenas you can hear them moving. They're quite noisy when they move. They're not particularly careful with their steps. I think possibly the best word to describe their movements through the bush is clumsy. You'll hardly ever hear a leopard as it moves through the bush. Hi, Roland Rog. You'd like to know if Corky and her cub have been seen lately? I've seen her cub at the den, but not recently, maybe about a week ago. And I think I saw Corky at Lalamba's kill the first morning. It was just difficult to tell because it was walking away, but I did see the ear nick. But they should be fine. I can't hear these guys now. Okay. Let's just try to figure out the Mawati is. We can take the Mawati and see what happens. Because they might be walking along the drainage. Oh. Little one's behind us. Okay, she's coming past. Just hang on a second. We'll get it on the other side. Hey, Gingarika, what are you doing here? What are you guys up to? I wonder if you can hear. You can hear her movements quite a lot. She's just a cub. It's behind the vehicle. She just came to sniff the vehicle and she's gone back. Whew. No. Thought I could smell a leopard. Seemed like she just recognized the vehicle, came, had a sniff of the tires, and now she's gone back to wherever they are. But that was great for us because it gave us a clue as to where the rest of them are. So we're going to follow her, and it seems like in the Mawati is a good shout. So we're going to tuck in. Hopefully we'll find them again.
We have received our second batch of name plaques, which is super exciting. And Marcel is busy mounting them as we speak. For those of you that don't know, we are offering the opportunity for Wild Earth explorers to get their names engraved on a plaque like this. Once your name is on the plaque, it will then be attached onto the vehicle. Marcel, what are you up to?
I'm busy mounting plaques on Trusty Rusty.
This means that even though you're at home watching this, it'll still feel as though you're on the vehicle with us as we bumble about the bush. This means that V&A, Prajash, Melanie Greenwood, Linda J. Poley and Stephen Humbert will be riding along with us as we bumble through the bush, even though you're watching it from home. Now that the name plaques are on the back of the vehicle, it's time for us to head out and go and see what we can find.
Across southern and East Africa, the Endangered Wildlife Trust works tirelessly to save species, protect critical habitats, and benefit people. Join the EWT in returning wildlife to the wild. Go to ewt.org.za to find out more and follow our socials to see how you can get involved. Protecting forever, together.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinde Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Guys, just watch what's happening. See, watch the elephants, watch the lions. See, the first ones to run are the cubs. Can you see them? They are right here. I'm not sure how scared you were, but I was quite nervous. absolutely incredible.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Good morning. Welcome to my vehicle. Welcome to a very cool and refreshing Duma. Hello everybody, my name is joined by Gert on camera. And as always, excited and delighted to be with us. Now please jump on board and do feel free to send through any questions and comments you might have. We are here on the eastern side of Duma. Trying to see if we can pick up on any tracks I had from early this morning. All sorts of contact calls of lions. I haven't found a track yet, so sometimes it's amazing how far away they can be calling from. I'm checking some familiar haunts, but so far it's been pretty quiet. But it's nice and fresh this morning. Nice to be out and about. The hyenas, of course, have been everywhere. The tracks abound. I'm hoping to possibly find some signs of undead birds here on the eastern side. Might just pop into some accessible areas of Torchwood that we have signal in. See if there's any tracks. It is an area that they like to frequent, and then down towards Chitwa. Everybody had they're ready for a wonderful week ahead. Potentially my last week here for quite some time. Okay, well it seems like we're losing some signal, so let's send it back over to Trish.
Now we've got Kingarika. I'm sometimes inclined to call her Gigi because it just flows off the mouth. But she's in a hole in the Mulwati that has been dug out by an elephant. What's that? From Franklin? Oh, this is just so cute. It's so wonderful to see their behavior outside of the den. And she's almost a year old. It's about time she has gone out exploring on her own. Well, she's not totally on her own. It's kind of like being taken to the mall with your older siblings or cousins or parents, uncles or aunts, and then just left to your own devices there. So there's still adults around, but not exactly with her. This could be a dangerous situation for her, especially if there are lions around. Well, that's why we're keeping our distance, although they're not as curious about the vehicle when not at the den. The den is a safe space. Oh, hang on, standing by. A negative. I'm just following one Misi in the Mulwati, not active at the den. Off she goes. So they're not as curious as I was saying. Darren, just check behind you. I can hear something moving. No? Good. Yeah, they seem to be very curious in the safe space that is the den area, this communal area where they can be very sure that they can be safe at all times because they can run into that den. In this case, she doesn't have a safe spot to just run off to, so you don't find her, nibbling the car's tires. Even when she was at the back of the car there, she was just giving it a sniff, didn't touch anything like that. Let's have a quick look at what she was busy doing here. So elephants will dig in the Mulwati looking for water. I don't know if, there we go. Oh, sorry. It's just that it's quite close to the vehicle, so you're not going to be able to see too well. That's about as best as you can. Elephants dig there for water. And I guess she found it to be something she could be curious about and just play with. Play is a great sign of good cognitive, i.e. intelligence. The will to do something that is not in any way related to your immediate survival. She's still in the water, yeah, just like I said to you, I don't want to go too quickly, too close, because then just
Crash cut. Good morning again, and you have joined us just in time. We've just managed to re-find this pride of lions from yesterday. They are in virtually the same place as where we saw them yesterday, but they've come out to lie on this flattened section of grass here. They apparently yesterday, those of you that joined yesterday morning, you would remember that there was a wildebeest carcass here. There's no sign of the carcass. It seems like they've dragged it further into the grass and towards the trees. And now they've come back out to lie on this flattened section of grass, like I said, with it being nice and early in the morning, and we showed you all that mist earlier. And just imagine how, I don't know if you can see, even with the camera, all the dew that's glistening on the tops of the grass. Obviously that grass, pretty wet, and lying in the very long grass must be terribly uncomfortable. So that's why these lions have tried to come to a more open area. The big lioness there getting up. See her belly not super full. It's quite surprising, because apparently it was not a fully grown wildebeest, but still a good-sized animal that they had brought down. So surprising that they haven't eaten more of the carcass. See that older lioness having the decency to at least move away from the rest of her family when she goes to defecate. That's what she's busy doing now, it looks like. We'll see what she does after this, with this being the oldest lioness in this little group here. She's often the one that tends to make the decisions as to when they start moving around. So if she starts to walk, the others will often follow her. But I think she might have a hard time convincing her sub-adult daughters to follow her. See where she's walking now, just behind her, there's a very white belly that's facing the sky. It's the tummy of one of the sub-adult lionesses. And her tummy looks to be a lot fuller, relatively speaking, than Mom's belly. That lioness just heading a little bit further down towards the carcass and then laying down. Oh, look at those tummies. Also not super full, not fit to burst, but they've definitely been feeding on that carcass. Vishy, you're asking how often a lion will eat. Vishy, it very much depends on their circumstances. So lions, even with tummies that are full, if they come across a hunting opportunity that's too good to miss, they'll often take it. So even a lion that's super full and super satiated, if it comes across, say, for example, a warthog with a broken leg or something like that, it will do its best. It will try and catch that warthog. just because these lions never know when their next meal is going to come. It's obviously not the easiest thing in the world, even for a lion, to try and catch another animal and kill it so that it can eat it. But Vishy, if they're, in terms of how often they need to eat, if they're able to kind of fill their bellies every kind of 3 days or so, they'll be doing well. They can go for much longer than that without food, but things will get exponentially more and more desperate kind of past the 3 or 4 day mark. And we often give lions, I mean, look at these lions, how they're lying down, and this is what lions tend to do most of the day, most days, because they, like we said, they never know when they're going to eat again, so they've got to be very careful to conserve their energy. And because it's especially important because their metabolisms work so fast. I remember watching or seeing 2 big male lions, the male lions that dominate the south of Ambionpinda. Unfortunately, there's now only one of them left. But I remember watching them or finding them one morning when they had eaten something recently and their bellies were so full that they literally looked like they were going to touch the ground. And they looked so uncomfortable. It was a hot summer's day, and you could just see they just couldn't get comfortable. They couldn't sit down, they couldn't stand up, they couldn't lie down. Any which way they moved, they just seemed to be uncomfortable. And we saw them again 3 days later, and they looked like they could eat again. So their metabolisms work very, very fast. I don't know if you saw how that lioness suddenly just tilted her head. Remember last night with that lioness, how when she heard that Inyala alarm calling, how she tilted her head and listened in that direction. There was an impala that just snorted up the hill off to my left. And it was enough to get... Look at the older lioness. That's the older lioness, the lioness that moved first. And that snort got her attention. And she's now staring in the direction of where the sound came from. And of course, with them having this wildebeest carcass somewhere nearby, this is a magnet for other predators. Even though we can't smell it now, yesterday afternoon when we came here to look for these lions, that carcass is already starting to smell not bad, but you can smell, it's like walking into a butcher's shop. You can smell the meat. And I mean, if I can smell it from a couple 100 meters or so away from the carcass, then other predators like other lions or hyenas will definitely be able to smell it from much further away. And while there's 5 lions here, and I don't think there's going to be much trouble from any hyenas in the area, there's other lions coming through the area. They'll want to know what other lions are coming down to the carcass. They want to know if it's lions from their pride or foreign lions. Taylor, you 12 years old, are asking which pride of lions this is. Taylor, these are members of the pride of lions that we know as the mountain pride. Because they live around, or the core, maybe not the core, but a large part of their territory falls in the area around Ambionpinda Mountain Lodge. And there's one of the other adult lionesses that make up this group. So this is by no means the whole pride. It's only 5 members. It's 2 adult lionesses and 3 sub-adult lionesses. There's still a few other members. We saw that very old lioness last night, who we said has 4 cubs. She's also a member of this pride, but she obviously hasn't found her way back to the rest of the group just yet. And that's something that we've noticed quite often with lion prides in this part of South Africa, not just at Ambionpinda, but in the other reserves that surround us in this region of South Africa. Because the predominant prey species here are smaller animals like Inyala and warthogs and impala, and that's what the lions here tend to kill most often. A warthog is not going to fill five lions' bellies. And so we often find that mothers with their youngsters tend to kind of separate themselves from their pride on purpose, just because they know that if they catch something, that their cubs will get to feed. Yeah, a warthog is not gonna go very far amongst or between these five lions. Maybe a big warthog boar, each lion might get a bit to eat. A wildebeest will definitely fill them, but much easier to rather go and try and catch warthogs or nyala, which are far more abundant here. That being said, though, they will still meet up every now and then, and they are still pride members, so they will still greet each other with affection. And the little cubs play with their older cousins or older half-siblings. Craig, you're asking if these lions have a preferred time of day to hunt. Craig, typically speaking, because of the way that they're adapted, they've got superb night vision and they're very good at stalking and being stealthy. Nighttime tends to be the best time for lions to hunt. Although that being said, with us coming into winter now, I think this year is going to be a bit of an exception because of the rains that we've had this year. There's a lot more water this year than we've had in previous years. But normally wintertime, when it's dry, we notice that these lions tend to hunt quite a lot during the middle of the day. And the reason for that is that they know that all the herbivores have to come down and drink. The grass and the plants are dry, there's less moisture in them. So the herbivores have to come down to drink. And the lions will often kind of wander between the larger water holes in their territory, and they'll just sleep and lie in wait in the shade around the edge of the waterhole, knowing that there's going to be a stream of animals coming down to drink, and then they'll wait for their opportunity to pounce. And it's not infrequently in wintertime that we'll leave this pride of lions heading to a waterhole, watch them go down into the shade and fall asleep, head on back to the lodge for breakfast, come back later, and they've killed a zebra or killed a warthog or killed an nyala right at the edge of the water. So I suppose the short answer is that they'll be opportunistic. They'll hunt at whatever time or whenever an opportunity presents itself. But typically speaking, because of the adaptations, like we were saying, that the way that they hunt and their night vision, nighttime tends to be the best time for them. Also nice and cool. They can move around more, use less energy. They can move further. So from all the lions lying out here in the open, it seems like it's now just this one younger adult lioness, and I wonder how long it's going to be before she also stands up and moves to go and join the others. Quite an interesting scenario though that is developing with this particular lioness, in that a couple of days ago she was seen mating with the surviving male from the south of the reserve. And she was mating with him for, I think, 2 or 3 days. And then we found her, I think, 2 days ago or 3 days ago, mating with one of the males from the north, from a different pride. So that is going to be very interesting to see what happens, because if she gives birth to cubs that are fathered by the males from the north, it will be interesting to see how the male from the south takes that. Because she won't be accepted if she tries to go, because she's a female or she's a lioness, and if she tries to go and join up with the lionesses from the pride from the north of the reserve, they won't accept her. She's a foreigner to them. And they will attack her and behave very aggressively towards her. So she won't be able to go and raise her cubs there. She'll want to stay with her family. But it will be interesting to see how the big male from the south, with her more than likely going to give birth in his territory if the mating was successful, it will be very interesting to see what happens. We're just going to have to move a little bit here, everybody, just to there is another vehicle that is also wanting to see these lions this morning. So I'm just going to move us a little bit forward, make some space for them. Here we go, there's a big yawn from her. Oh, another one. Starting to groom herself. Ooh, Nick, you're asking a very interesting question. You're asking if those black spots on the backs of her ears serve any purpose. And Nick, absolutely yes they do. Look at how much they stick out on her body compared to, well, against the tawny of her back and of her neck. And if we look at her tail as well, it's a bit tough to see from here, but she's got a lovely kind of fluffy black, almost like a pom-pom on the end of her tail. And again, look at how much that kind of contrasts against the rest of her body and against the grey or the green or the brown of the grass around her. And so what it's thought that those black spots help with is communication between her and the rest of the pride. So just imagine a pride of lions walking through that very long grass, maybe stalking a wildebeest or stalking a warthog. If the lead lioness spots something, how does she kind of convey to the rest of her family that she has seen something and where she's seen it? Just by stopping and looking in the direction of that animal, the lions behind her will be able to see where she's looking, and also the posture of her ears, which is then indicated by, because the lions can see where the black spot is on the back of, or the black spots are on the back of her ears. They can then see where she's looking. They can see how her ears are, if they're standing up straight or if they're flayed out to the side, and they can then read her body language just by looking at the spots of her ears. So they can see if she's seen something and where she's seen it, so that they can then know where to look, and that they can then start to orchestrate a hunt. Also imagine for little lion cubs trying to follow their mother through the long grass, that little black pom-pom on the end of the tail and the black spots behind the ears make it easier for them to see where she's going. Another theory that is less, at least in what I've read, less frequently spoken about, but interesting nonetheless, is we spoke a bit last night about animals that have brightly coloured markings, like blacks and whites and reds and yellows on their bodies, to warn other animals to stay away. And again, those black spots on the backs of the ears, they contrast against the rest of her body. So does the black pom-pom on her tail tip, and so does the colour of her jowls. Her jowls are pitch black. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the gums or the insides of a lion's mouth. There we go. See, there's a little bit of a black. She's got almost like black lips almost. And so when a lion is being aggressive, when it's growling and it's threatening another lion or another animal, for example, if a human were to encounter a lion on foot, the lion would growl, it would flatten its ears back over its head, and it would bare its teeth. And so it's baring its teeth, it's the shock of the white teeth against the black lips. It's with the ears being flayed back, you'll see those black spots sticking out against the top of her head, and then she'll swish her tail from side to side. And that black little pom-pom is going to wave viciously from side to side, over her back, side to side. And it's a very aggressive kind of posture and very aggressive motions that the tail makes, and it's eye-catching to say the least. So all of those contrasting markings also help to show her body language and to show that she's aggressive and that she doesn't want whatever is confronting her to be confronting her. It's a way for her to say back off. And those black spots on the backs of the ears, the black jowls against her teeth, and that black tail tip kind of swishing around make it pretty easy to tell what her intentions are, or what she would like you to do, and that is go away. See how she's now listening? It's very, very, very far away. I can barely hear it with my own ears, but there's a hyena whooping very far in the distance. It's coming from there's a river that bisects the reserve. Well, not quite bisects, but flows across almost the middle of the reserve, called the Munyawana River. And it's a very thick area. There's a lot of hyena activity in that area, so I wonder if they're not maybe calling from there. We're going to see if we can try and get a slightly better view of these lions for you. Hopefully when you come back to us, we'll have a different view.
We all have a busy schedule and a lifestyle which is confined to stress and tensions. For so many of us, the hustle and bustle of a tedious life has meant we have lost our inner peace. Traveling is an ultimate remedy that lets us unwind and helps us experience peace in the lap of nature. Wild Earth encourages the benefits of travel by giving away an amazing prize every month.
I was totally overwhelmed to receive this fantastic prize of 3 nights at Tswalu. Wild Earth has been a lifesaver for us during the pandemic and has kept us sane. Thank you so very much, Wild Earth.
Sign up to be an explorer today, and it could be you jetting off on an all-expenses-paid-for safari experience. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
I love being a camera for Wild Earth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
We have a baby pangolin, a baby pangolin. This is off the charts. This animal is about from your fingertips to your elbow. That's the total length of this animal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
For a link. Oh no! Welcome back to Ambion Panda. Murphy's Law. As you get to us, that lioness just decided to flop down into that long grass and go back to sleep. Unfortunately, we can't really do too much better in terms of a view. The grass is terribly long there. Excuse me. And that lioness has gone to go join the rest of her family, and we're not going to be able to move in there, unfortunately. But nice to know at least these lions are still in the same kind of area as last night. Still around their carcass. Pretty sure that, like I said, I haven't been able to see the carcass again. Yeah, but we're not going to be able to get much more of a view of these lions. So we're going to move out of here. Let's send you back across to Trish.
So I was sitting and just having a look at basically the vegetation around here. And then we came across this I don't know what spider could have created this kind of web, because it doesn't look like the community nest spiders' nests or the webs that they build, because they often include a lot of debris, like dried leaves, dried branches, things like that, in the construction of their web. But what it could be is a newly constructed community that hasn't incorporated those things into their web yet. But it looks very, very wispy. Let's have a good close look at the actual silk, I guess, and see if we can see anything moving. See tiny spots just off to the right there. And they're all over the web, but I don't know what they are, and they're not moving. Now, if it is a community nest spider's web, then they're nocturnal, so they would be inactive at this time, but still they'd be in the nest portion of it, not in those outer fringes like that. I think it's very, very, very cool. Oh, that's quite a spotty one. Can you get any closer to that, Darren? Hi, ZK. You say this web is impressive? Totally. Just trying to figure out what this is on it. It almost looks like somebody came and exterminated a community nest spider's web, and all these look like dead spider bodies. But there's nothing about them, they just look round. There's nothing about them that indicates spidery to me. So it might not actually be the spiders that we're looking at there. Whatever it is, or whatever spider it is, because it most definitely is a spider, nothing else can produce this amount of silk. Whatever it is, we can come back and look at it another time, or check on its progress, whether it's deteriorating or whether it's being built upon. We'll come and check it out. Cool stuff you find out here in the bush. Hi, Cantrell. You'd like to know if it could be a caterpillar nest? No, a caterpillar can't produce that amount of silk. That is, if we look at it from here and you see it in totality, you'll see that there's a lot of silk that has been produced. Almost looks like a cloud has been caught in the tree. That's far too much silk to be produced by caterpillars. There is a nesty kind of portion to it. Okay, let's just stop here. If you just look into that little part there, you can actually see how there's strands of silk, very silky. But yeah, just before those leaves, or just behind those leaves, there's actually a collection of those little spots. So it must be some kind of Ooh, Solly, that's a good one. Solly asks if it could be eggs. Could be eggs. Now that I'm a little closer and I can see that there's nothing in the long grass, I'm going to step out and have a closer look. Just double check. I mean, it's definitely not a spider. These round things. Could be eggs. Ooh, whoops. I think eggs wins. Solly, you win. Ow. Just have a quick look here. I mean, it's difficult to see. No, that's not even worth showing you. Anyway, it's broken up, completely disintegrated in my fingers. So it could have been old egg casings. This is just one. It just kind of broke off as soon as I touched it. Nothing's moving in there, which my hand is thankful for. Perhaps egg casings. It is. Then maybe this is a disused community. Hi, Faith Dad. You say this is enough to knit a sweater. Well, one of those like 80s ones where you wear it to the club and it's actually see-through, but you call it a sweater. Sure, one of those. You know exactly the ones I'm talking about, guys. Actually, Faith Dad, people have knitted many a thing out of spider silk. Let's actually go out that way. Some of the most expensive fashion items in the world are made out of spider silk. This includes a dress, maybe more now, but there's a company that produces spider silk ties. For what I can imagine, not much of a profit, because that effort so outweighs the reward there. Wow, that was really interesting. I'm gonna come back and check on it. So my theory at the moment is that it's a disused or once used community nest spiders nest, and maybe they just used it for their eggs. But I love stuff like that. We'll go and investigate it further. Anyway, let me send you over to Steve on a Bumble. We're going to swing past the den again, see if those guys returned.
Thanks, Trish. Well, welcome back, everybody. We've found ourselves lost in a bit of signal in Tortured. We found some leopard tracks and some very fresh scat. We were following for a little bit. Unfortunately, we weren't getting any signals, so we've come out. Now we're on Gowrie Main, and we're going to pop down into Chitwa, see if there's any sign of Tundi. Didn't see any tracks of a female in that area. So hopefully we're about to get something for you this side. Now moving between Torchwood and Chitwa, her and her boy. Daniel, well, tracks sometimes are tricky this time of year, but a pile of poo, well, when it's still wet and fresh with no flies, it's very wet and fresh. So the scat was very fresh. Tracks, though, can be influenced by wind, can be influenced by something else with regards to nocturnal animals. So we found that scat, and then we found a jackal track that had walked all over the leopard track and had sniffed it, but it was still very fresh, steaming, you could say. I didn't poke it with a stick to get that consistency that Tristan likes to do, but it was very fresh. It hadn't even discolored yet. It was a male leopard. It had a hoof. Oh, what's going on here? What's going on here?
We've just found some giraffe and quite a few zebras. There's sunlight coming through from the east onto these giraffe, and look how beautiful they are, just feeding next to one of the roads here. My name is Dilt, and behind the camera we've got OD, and we are going to be driving around and seeing if we can find maybe some elephants and some lions, maybe that male lion that we saw last night. And look at all the zebras. There's even some impalas there in the back. Oh, look at these two pushing and shoving each other a little bit. A bit of a rocky area that they are looking to fight. Oh, there's a bit of a kick. Some impalas there. They've just walked behind us, those zebras, so we'll get to them soon. All these impala, zebras and giraffe are here close to a big open clearing on the one hillside, and I think they were spending the night here because it's nice and open for them to see around them. You can just see the ram rubbing his face into the bush there. Putting his scent all over that bush. Lots of grooming. Oh, this one's getting a bit of a insect bite there. So the females are moving around quite a bit. Listen to the male impala making his ratting noise there. Look how beautiful the sun is coming through the clouds. It's literally just that little gap where the sun is shining through that is not cloudy. The rest of it is all very, very, very cloudy this morning.
I'm checking down Bondway.
Well, you've come to us just at the right time because we just joining up with one of the leopards. The one's gone south into Little Gari, so there's no chance of seeing her. I think it's a her, I don't know, no one ID who it was, but the other cat that we've got I think is Tlalamba in front of us, so maybe Tswalu and Tlalamba, I don't know, be interesting to know. Just want to try and catch up with her. Interestingly enough, she's heading towards where Tandi had this kudu kill yesterday. At this stage, she's not actually that far away from that area. Just wait for this vehicle and then we'll be able to get in front. There she is. It's definitely Tlalamba. You can see her stomach is still hanging. Just see her tail dropping back. Alright, let's try and catch up with her. Looks like she's going towards the main road. So we'll just try and kind of cross through this little section here. It's a bit tricky in this area because it's quite wet. There's little mud wallows and things all over the place. So I'm going to just try and get onto the main section now. It could very well be that the other leopard was Tswalu. It could also be that it was Shasha. It could be Langa. It's definitely interesting that there's more than the one of them here. It doesn't seem like Kalahari knew about it, because generally when Kalahari, or any leopard picks up another leopard, they follow each other and they salivate and they make a lot of kind of a show of it, and she's not salivating at all. She seems pretty chilled. Just checking her tummy. Definitely still milk in there, but let's see if there's any fresh suckle marks on her. She's been absolutely everywhere the last few days, has Kalahari. From north to south, east, west, she's covering the kind of whole territory. She doesn't have any fresh suckle marks there. I can see where her teats are, where there's been a cub that has suckled for the last little bit, but nothing fresh. There's no matted fur that I can see. I hope she still has this cub. We'll see. Time will tell. There she goes, just kind of striding along the road with those little hips that she usually has. I'm going to check now if I'm sure she's going to head to where that carcass was and sniff around and check what's happening. All right, we'll follow her. In the meantime, let's send you across to Pridelands so that Steve Warburg can say good morning.
Welcome to a very cold and overcast and windy dawn here in Eco Training Pridelands, where it is 16 degrees Celsius. It is very cold. We've got jackets on. Hello everybody, my name is Steve, joined by Glenn on camera, and we are delighted to have you with us. We are out and about in an area called Red Earth, where it's quite nice and open, so we've got a lot of open ground so we can see quite far. When it is windy like this, it's quite important to be able to see, because otherwise, you can't really hear too much when the wind is shifting the leaves and the branches and all that. So from a safety point of view, we're going to stay outside, but have a look at that wonderful view. That way, Glenn. Beautiful morning. The wind picked up last night. It was throwing our tent all over the place. Cleared the sky. The clouds were completely gone by the time I went to bed. And now they've pulled in again. I couldn't tell you. I mean, animals are about, they're always about. It's just whether they're moving or not is the question. And on bushwalk, we're not really likely to see many animals. Generally, the case of being on bushwalk is the fact that you aren't really designed to see animals. You do sometimes. We are just west of Leopard Dam, so we might eventually head in that direction. Because it's quite cold, I don't foresee too many animals going towards there to drink. And because it's windy, many of the animals, herbivore animals that are around and about, the prey animals, are going to be hanging away and trying to sort of keep themselves safe, because when it's windy, their hearing is impeded and they're much more easily caught. So who knows? But you never know. Anything could happen on bushwalk. Anything could happen out on safari. We could have honey badgers just materializing on the scene. There's lots of elephants around, although we didn't see any on our drive through here this morning. I was woken in the night by a snoring buffalo who's decided to take up camp right outside mine and Glenn's tent. Okay, well, enough about our snoring buffalo. Let's send you over to Trico, who's got some flying friends.
Right, welcome back. So we are at the waterhole now. Just about to see what we're gonna find. For the last 2 days, we haven't seen anything early in the morning. And also it might be because it's a bit cold and the animals maybe will come out when it starts to get a bit warmer.
Hi guys, I'm sorry about that, but we're back live in action. and we have just been to the hyena den, hoping to see if they had come back there, but they hadn't. So now I'm going to kind of move around in the area where I think they might have gone, maybe perhaps back to Mamba, see if we can follow up on those hyenas. That'd be awesome. Remember to send us your questions, guys, because we are live. Hashtag Wild Earth on Twitter, at FC on the YouTube chat stream. You can go to our website and register and use our questions and comments box under the Live Safari tab. If you're under 18, please use kids' questions at wildearth.tv. We love to hear from all of you. We're about halfway through our drive now. And I am in the mood for some elephants. I hope that you guys are too. I heard some cracking branches on this side, so we're going to do a little detour to the west before we go and follow up on Mamba Road, not Mamba the snake, although it is named after a mamba. We're going to go slight detour to the west, see if those cracking branches were actually on the property or just out, because it's quite close. The further we move west, we kind of tilt towards the southern boundary. And the sounds that elephants can make and create, sometimes so loud. The magnitude of the sounds they make, including the breaking of the branches, is so loud sometimes we can mistake it for being on our property when it's not. But we're going to go have a look. I really enjoyed seeing the hyenas out this morning and actually moving around. That was really nice. I hope we'll get to see that more often as the cubs grow. Anyway, guys, remember, send us those questions. We're live again, and I will see you hopefully with some elephants in a bit.
We know how important it is for young people to have a connection to nature through our live safaris. They are the future protectors of the planet. Over the years, we have been joined on safari by schools from all over the world.
Seeing those students connecting with somebody lifetime in Africa, what else could you ask for? It's just an incredible experience for everyone.
Believe it or not, that is the dropping of a giraffe. Do you believe that?
Students, about probably 3,000 from New South Wales, have just enjoyed this live streaming.
And we learned that some trees are male and female. That's pretty cool, right?
We were able to experience what it was like in South Africa and to see a whole lot of different creatures.
Take 27. I'm Carol from Chicago, USA. This is me 5 years ago. No music, no editing, real time. I was hooked. Thank you so much for that, Wild Earth.
I had lost my job, and I also lost one of my pets. So Wild Earth has seen me through very hard times, and I just want to thank all of you for being there for me when I needed you most.
We love you. We start and end our day with you, teaching our grandkids all about nature through you, your wonderful educational safaris.
We really do appreciate being on safari with you, especially when it's cold and wintry in Canada.
And considering we've been in lockdown for 18 months here in Saudi and have not been able to fly back to South Africa, I want to thank you for bringing your safari back into my life every single day and night. I love it, love it, love it.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
So welcome back, everybody, and as you can see, we have managed to find a rather large bird of prey that is sitting at the top of a knobthorn tree. And if you look where it is sitting, you can see it's quite dense just below its feet, and it looks like it is perched in a nest. And the bird of prey that we're currently looking at is a tawny eagle, which is really nice to see this morning. We did head down into that area where they burnt, and we found tracks of a few lions, and they just went into an area that's not incredibly accessible, and to track them on foot we would need a long period of time. So I moved out that area. There's one other ranger with a tracker who's gone down to see if he can try and find them, and I'm pretty sure that's the group with the white lions. But this tawny eagle is a nice find this morning, and with the overcast conditions and it's still being rather cool, it is still perched in the top of a tree on the nest. And what we expect why it's nesting is because the tawny eagle tends to lay eggs in this part of the world, in southern Africa, in between April and July. Most of it occurring May and June, that sort of period. So that's what they're doing. And with the tawny eagle, most often they will lay 2 eggs in the nest. Can be up to 3, but most of the time only 2 eggs that will be laid. And they've got the Cain and Abel theory as well. 90% of the time, around that sort of percentage, when the first egg hatches, that egg will attack the second egg to hatch, and most of the time will end up killing it. So only one chick will usually be reared by the pair. It's a nice find. Lots of lapwings, alarming as well while they're flying up in the sky, crowned lapwings. It might be as a result of that tawny eagle on the top of the tree. Be interesting to see where this tawny heads today. They used to nest not far from here. I'm pretty sure it's the same pair that used to nest in a knobthorn tree just on the other side of one of the main roads that are pretty much straight in front of us. And I think the canopy's just got too dense and the foliage has grown into the nest, and it's decided to move to a new nest. It'd be interesting to see whether that tawny eagle built that nest on its own, or whether it's making use of a nest previously placed by a different bird, maybe something like a white-backed vulture, stolen the nest from it. Still overcast and cool this morning, and there hasn't been, we weren't so lucky in the southern part of Ngala. We didn't see very much at all, but it's still nice to get to a new part of the reserve, and to see the burnt area was also quite interesting. Burn is done to clear out all the old growth, essentially promote the growth of new grasses, which we'll probably only start to see once the first rains come, which will be in about October, November of this year, so still quite a while. So, Linda, it's one of the bigger eagles that we get here, especially this time of year. Well, it's the biggest brown eagle that we get here, at least. The other eagles that are a little bit bigger than it that we might see this time of year, a martial eagle and very unlikely, but it has been recorded here, is Varro's eagle, which are both bigger than the tawny eagle. But the tawny eagle weighs on average about 2 kilograms, the females, and the males slightly smaller, but only by a small margin, coming in at about 1.9 kilograms. And it is the wingspan I'm not 100% sure about, but it does sit at about 70 centimeters tall from feet to the head. And just having a look quickly in the book to see if it does have the wingspan. Yeah, I'd guess it's probably somewhere around 2 meters. I'm just double checking. fish eagle calling behind us as well. So in the book that I've got, the Roberts, it doesn't have the wingspan, but I would guess that's probably somewhere around 2 meters. 2 meters wide. Only real birds you can confuse them with are birds that migrate away from southern Africa. So you won't have any of the confusing species here. That's why when you tend to see a big brown eagle this time of year, it's always going to be a tawny eagle. In summertime, it can be very difficult identifying between the tawny eagle and a steppe eagle. Steppe eagle's a little bit bigger than the tawny, and it's quite a tricky one to ID. You can often get confused between the two. Lesser spotted eagle is also another one. Fantastic. So we've got the wingspan. It is between 150 to 190 centimeters, so a little bit smaller than I expected. But 190 is not too far off 2 meters. That's something that I won't forget. And the tawny eagle, I mean, that one is perched, it hasn't moved, and I think it's because of the weather. You can see it's not sitting on the eggs, so it's probably not incubating them at present. But I'm sure at some stage later today it will fly and start looking for something to eat. Predominantly looking for opportunities to scavenge and to steal from other birds of prey and smaller animals. Often you'll find them as the first bird at a carcass or where something has been killed. And then I've also seen them chasing battaliers around, trying to steal food from the battaliers and from other birds of prey. So I think what we're going to do from here, we're going to head towards the Timbavati River, go drive in the riverbed and see maybe if we can't find those lionesses with the cubs. So I think we'll leave the tawny eagle and continue along the way and see what we can find and where we can get to this morning. From an icy morning, now the weather's not too bad, it's still cold. And while we drive, we're going to send you over to Damon at Phinda.
Welcome back to Ambient Phinda. Johan and I have moved away from where those lions were, and like we said yesterday, we thought maybe this morning we'll try to see if we can't find any fresh tracks or signs of a black rhino. Now, I don't know if you can hear the wind blowing through the microphone. It's a little bit windy, a little bit cold, and normally because of that, the black rhinos will often go into thick bush to shelter if it's chilly like this and if it's windy like this. So not the best conditions or time of day at this time of year to go looking for a black rhino. But I'm hoping that as the day kind of warms up a little bit, sometimes in wintertime we see black rhinos coming and moving around a bit later in the morning when it's a bit warmer. But often when looking for black rhino, especially during winter time when it's a little bit drier, one of the best places to start is near to a waterhole, and there's a waterhole just off to my right. And so I've gotten out the vehicle to have a look at the ground to see if I can see any fresh tracks. And I can see there's lots of different animal tracks that have come down here to the water to drink. A lot of buff down from this little game and moved down towards the water. And just over here, there's a couple of rhino tracks as well. They're not very easy to see. In fact, over here is probably going to be the clearest one. Don't know if you're able to see just here in front of me. There's where a rhino stood. And there's another one over here. It looks like there was at least one black rhino that did come down here to drink last night. Moved down there. There's a little game trail that it headed down to go for a drink, and then probably carried So that off a tree, just off to the side over here. I'll let Johan show it to you before I go in and start pointing things out. But see how it's almost got like a bit of a weeping willow feel to it. A much more sparsely kind of vegetated than a weeping willow, but that same kind of drooping appearance of the branches. And it's front. And so it looks like this one has been pretty heavily fed upon. There's been branches that have been broken off. But what I wanted to show you is have a close look here. I'm just going to come past the camera. Can you see over here where all the bark has been worn away? And if I run my hand over that, it's super, super, super smooth. And this is where, excuse me, we're saying the buffalo that have been coming down here, the rhinos that have been coming down here, and especially on a hot day when the sun's really intense or in the sun really hot, the buffalo, rhinos, they'll all go down into these little water holes and roll in the mud, coat themselves in mud, and then on their way out, they'll often go and rub themselves against trees or logs or stumps or rocks, just to get that mud to kind of fall, and then they'll rub with the mud and the bark working together, kind of form like an exfoliating agent to help get rid of ticks. So some signs of some black rhino, but no rhino just yet. We're going to keep on driving and see if we can't find one for you.
I am in a herd of buffalo. They're busy chewing away this female. She's been very, very curious about us. They're such curious creatures. Yeah. Well, we've been sitting here for a while, so they shouldn't be too concerned about us. But she has been staring at us. It's making me feel a little bit awkward. But they're very good at making you feel awkward with this stare. So in the middle of a big herd, the other young boy come across. I hope you can hear these wonderful sounds as they move. You can also hear them communicating with each other, their usual. Darren, look at that one over at the edge. It's picking her head up and looking. What's that? They're so curious. It's a really amazing thing to sit in a herd, especially when you're kind of between the herd. If the herd is on both sides of the road and they slowly walk through or across and you're kind of just there. And they walk around you, they stop to look at you. Oh, at least she looked away this time. I would have lost that staring contest. You can see she's female because she lacks that boss at the top of the head where the horns come off. So it almost, if we look to the left at this youngish bull here, if you look at his horns, can you see in the middle between the two, he's got like this extra cap, extra thick. She lacks that. So that's the easiest way to tell them apart, but also there's a slight difference in their size, not too much. It's about 50 to 100 kg difference, males being a little bit larger than the females, but not by too much. Oh, here comes the baby. Oh, goodness me. You are small compared to everybody else. Hi Jackson, you'd like to know why is the top of their horns called a boss? We've been asked this, or rather Tristan was asked this a couple of weeks back when we had our stint together, and then we had a discussion about it, and we don't know. But something for me rings a bell regarding the helmets of ancient Roman soldiers. But I don't know why it rings a bell. But I couldn't find anything on it. But anyway, Tristan and I reached the conclusion that we don't know. There's a nice old bull at the back there. Ah, my brain actually does work. Jared just told me that ancient shields used to have a part in the middle called a boss, which was obviously stronger than the other side or the other bits of it, and it would be the strongest portion to deflect arrows or any other kind of weapons that came hurtling its way. It's amazing how brains make connections, and sometimes you don't even realize it's happened. I feel like I read about a boss in a war context a long time ago, and it made a connection between this and that. You can see the youngsters haven't developed that really nice dark color just yet. There they come past us. Oh, why, hello. Good morning to you, too. I love their sound as they come through. Hello. You are beautiful. Hi, Leah. You'd like to know if buffalo are as aggressive as people say they are? Let's move forward, Leah, so we can have a look at them while we talk about this. Oh, actually, there's some a little further ahead, too. Oh, hello. These eyes will cross soon. There we go. So, Leah, they are, I wouldn't call them aggressive. I would say that their tolerance is much lower than other animals around here. As you can see, when we're around them now, they're not showing any type of aggression. Sorry, Leah, I think I need to sneeze. Never mind, I don't. So this male, you can see he's lifting up his head and looking at us like that. They do a lot of that before there's any type of aggression that's going to be directed at you. So out here, there are many signs that animals will give you before they start to become aggressive. In the case of a buffalo, those signs are few, and sometimes you won't notice them. So that's why it can appear that they kind of attack out of nowhere. I would say they have a smaller range of tolerance and a shorter fuse. They are the worst animal to come across if you are on foot and you don't see them, because they've seen you before you've seen them, and they might have already been displaying to you. You didn't see it at all. They notice you, think of you as a threat, and you have that almost 1-ton body flying at you, and those horns. It's not a great situation to be in. The most problematic animals, or rather, they're not problematic, but the animals that you don't want to be caught on foot with, especially if you didn't intend to be on foot with them and you're not trained to be on foot with them, are elephants and buffalo. Their sheer size means that you're always going to come off second best. And hunters who have hunted buffalo, that's one of the reasons that buffalo hunting is and was and is a very popular thing for lots of people. And I suppose it's, besides the strength and the size of the animal, it's the difficulty in the sense, or like the risk, I guess, of possibly dying hunting it. I honestly don't really understand. So, hi guys. Some more through there. I've seen videos of people trying to hunt buffalo. Well, not even hunt them, but you know, when people are on foot, then there's always a game scout that has a rifle just in case things get out of hand. And I watched a video once of a buffalo charging this group of people, and the buffalo being shot, but the whole speed and momentum of the buffalo, even after being shot, continued to move in their direction. That was unbelievable. And it always surprises me when people want to put themselves in a position like that. Hunters say it is the most difficult thing to hunt. But also look at their muscles. They're so dense. I would not want to be on the bad side of one of those. Okay, well, off they go. Almost. Hi, Craig. You'd like to know if I've had a scary encounter with buffalo? Not with buffalo, and not yet. The scary encounters with buffalo are most likely going to be those on foot, although I did have one kind of not happy with me, but it didn't do anything. I just moved off once I could see it wasn't happy with, or it wasn't comfortable. And the thing is that when they give those signs, it doesn't look like much. So what they'll do is they'll just kind of, where they're standing, move to behind a bush just a little. It might be even the scraggliest bush ever. in that area, but it just moves to get that bush in front of its face. And to you, it looks like it's just avoiding me or whatever. But you might be just a few movements behind it charging. But it's the such subtle signs that you can sometimes miss it. But that's the worst I have had. I haven't had a charge by a buffalo or anything like that. In fact, they've been very kind to me. I remember being stuck in a buffalo herd, we found Shidulu. I think it was a couple of weeks ago when I found Shidulu, tracking her, found her, and also noticed there were buffalo tracks around, but didn't really think anything of it because I was so focused on finding her. And it was now, it was 6:30, 7 o'clock, so it was dark in the evening. Found her, she was behaving erratically, trying to follow up on her, can't follow her up on her, get into the block, and there's just this wall of buffalo in the darkness. And now you've seen when we're in infrared what I get to see compared to what you get to see, right? So I see darkness, but luckily my presenter light is on so I can see the reflection in their eyes, and it was pretty scary. I mean, everyone behaved themselves, including myself, but it was pretty scary. And I'm trying to get out of the block, and they're just all over the place in the darkness. Plus, I know there's a leopard prowling around, which could give them a scare and make them angry as well. So that was a little scary, but more like a haunted house scary as opposed to thinking that I'm in real danger. Jared, I didn't hear what you said. Perhaps it's my earpiece. Ah, okay. Don't worry. Thank you so much. All right, let me keep on moving, see what other cool things we can find. I still have another great big animal that I want to find, and it's big and gray.
Do you dream of an African holiday in unparalleled luxury? Where your days are spent in the company of wildlife and cooling off in your very own plunge pool? Well, this month's prize may be the one for you. Expertly camouflaged into the unspoiled environment of the world-famed Sabi Sand Game Reserve, it's hard not to fall in love with Simbambili. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer before the end of May, and you and a friend could be jetting off to this ultimate escape from reality. A luxurious safari and spa getaway wrapped up in one impressive package. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature. For many years, Wild Earth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Hello again. We're moving towards via tele-access on Zoe's. No tracks anything just yet. I lie. So tracks for a leopardess. Just check something quickly. Did any stations use Zoe's Road this morning? I'll take that as a no. This looks like Tlalamba from yesterday. Yep. Okay. I think it's probably last night, especially if no one's used the road today or used it this morning. Then it's likely to be her from last night. But let's just keep our eyes peeled. Maybe she's managed to catch something. Remember, she was really looking for something to eat last night. But I suppose it might have been something small, not something hoistable. Yeah. Still got them. I think they might go all the way up towards quarantine. But we'll see. I had such an interesting experience the other night. I was in a semi-sleep state. You know when you're almost falling asleep and you begin to dream? That was happening to me, but I was still semi-awake. It's usually during that time of your sleep cycle, when you're getting to sleep, that you get like twitches and movements and you react to things because your body is not actually asleep yet. So anyway, I was in that state and I had dreamt, or I was dreaming, semi-awake dreaming, you know what I mean, that I was directing there was another vehicle and I was seeing tracks and I was telling the other vehicle to go around this way while I go around that way and we check out, see if we can find this leopard. And I had the radio in my hand and I'm like, you know, you would have seen we're talking and updating somebody and then the leopard just pops out because we end up in the right spot. So that's what happened. And at the exact same moment, in reality, a leopard maybe 200 meters from my room, wherever it was, maybe even 100 meters, starts sawing. So it was, I got a big shock. I woke up. Was it real? Was it not real? It was real. The bush kind of takes over everything when you're out here. All bits of your mental strength gets infused by the bush. It's quite shocking, I promise you. Anyway, let me send you over to Mike. He's finally out and about. He wants to say hello.
As you can see, the beautiful reflection at Ndlovu Dam. Sun is out. It was very cloudy and cold this morning. Probably one of the coldest mornings that we had for quite a while, but beautiful nonetheless. We took the opportunity to do it for a bit of a walk, but we've gotten back to the camp now and the Ndlovu Dam just to wait here and see as it gets a bit warmer what animals might come down. Hi everyone, my name is Mike Anderson. Behind the camera is Glenn, and this is Eco Training's Pride Lands Conservancy. where you can see the dam is quiet at the moment. It wasn't. Goodness gracious me. We did a big long loop, a bit of a wild goose chase, because when we got back to the dam about 15 minutes ago, there was a herd of buffalo disappearing up into the crest there. So they were watching us, waiting for us to leave the waterhole and then sneak past us to have a drink. And then when we came back, we just saw that their big old buffalo rumps disappearing. But there's not only buffaloes that have been at the dam. At some point over the last few hours, there have also been some elephants that came down a bit earlier. As you can see, there's some fresh, glistening elephant dung behind us, steaming almost. So it's been busy, and last night we had lots of noise around the dam. Hyenas were whooping and laughing the whole night. We had one of the students, I didn't hear it, but one of the students said that they heard a warthog squealing for a few minutes. We did our walk around looking for any evidence, but although we saw lots of hyena tracks, we could not find any evidence of a kill or a drag mark or anything like that. So who knows what was going on. Certainly noisy, and enough alarm calling going on, baboons as well, so I'm sure there was some predator stalking around the area. But for now, very quiet. In fact, it's exceptionally quiet. Our students are doing an exam right now, so all is peaceful for once in the camp. Hardly a breath of wind. A few wire-tailed swallows just flying over the top of the water, just dipping those bills in the water, having a bit of a swift drink. And while we see what else comes down to drink, we'll send you over to Pinda, where they're on the hunt for some black rhinos.
Well, Mark, I hope that you get lots of visitors to your waterhole this morning. I hope that your patience pays off. Johan and I are still on our black rhino tracking mission. And have a look at what we found here. Unfortunately, I was looking away from the road and drove over most of the evidence, but in front of me here, can you see there's this big pile of scattered dung, and this is one enormous black rhino midden. And I don't know if you can see here, I'm just going to squat down to try and show it to you. Can you see kind of over here to my left? There's some much darker dung. It's much darker than all the rest of it. See, most of it's pretty grey, pretty light in colour. But there's this one pile over there, there's a pile over there, there's a pile here, and a bit behind me that's still dark. It's still fresh, and it's smelling really strong. There's fresh black rhino tracks, well, when I say fresh, probably from last night sometime, off to my right. So this big pile of dung here, this is called a midden, where a black rhino has come and defecated again and again and again and again. And many of you will have seen this before, but this is basically where and how a black rhino marks its territory. So he'll have a couple of different middens around his territory that he'll go and use, and every time he comes past this area, he'll drop a load of dung on here, and then he'll use his feet to kind of kick the dung open. And see these marks here in front of me. There's these patches of bare sand, and there's even, I don't know if you can see it, Johan, just over here, there's quite a shiny little scrape mark where this rhino has dragged his back foot, that middle toe of his back foot, along the ground. And he's been dragging his feet through here, scraping his feet through here, helping to get the dung broken up, get the smell of his dung onto his feet, so that as he walks around his territory, he's able to deposit his scent. Other rhinos are able to know that this territory is taken, and that if you're another black rhino bull, keep away, and if you're a black rhino cow looking for a mate, there's a big strong bull in the area. And then, of course, again, many of you would have seen this before, but how we can tell this is a black rhino, not a white rhino, is, like I said, look at the color of the dung. See how this is some of the older dung, it's not the fresher dung, but see how it's taken on like a reddish brown color, And that reddish brown comes from the tannins of the leaves and the twigs that this rhino has been feeding on. White rhino's dung would be black or dark green. And another cool little thing about this rhino dung is, again, I might be a little bit far away, so I'll bring this a bit closer. But if you break the dung apart, like we said, black rhino feed on twigs and leaves. You can actually see the leaves inside the dung. And if you pick out the sticks, I'll bring these a bit closer so you can see. They've all been cut off at a 45-degree angle. And that's just the way that the rhino's molars work. And see, also that one the same thing also, 45-degree angle. That one's been broken off at a bit of a weirder angle. But yeah, so that's how the rhino feeds. And if you ask anyone who's had to use a machete to chop bushes or cut through trees, they'll tell you that a 45-degree angle is normally the most efficient way to do it. So these rhinos' molars have adapted to cut cleanly through those twigs that they feed on. So definitely been black rhino in this area. It's just a matter of trying to find one that is in a space that's open enough for us to actually see it, which I think is going to be the challenge. We know they're around here. We've just got to get lucky now. I think as the morning heats up, even though black rhino tend to be more nocturnal, we often find that in winter time in this area, later in the morning, that the rhinos do start to move around a little bit more once the sun is up a little bit and it's a bit warmer. So we'll keep driving around, and I'm sure that if we're lucky, we might get a chance to have a look at one. So we're going to leave this midden for now, turn around and make our way back up towards the hillside, maybe try and get a bit of a height advantage, a bit of elevation, and then use our binoculars to try and scan for them. While we do that though, let's go across to Trish.
I hope that Damon does get to find his black rhino. I'm not taking Gallagher shortcut to the north, just to check it out. I've been driving it often these last couple days and I haven't been seeing much. Alex takes this road to Longpole 4 times a day. There and back. And he also says he doesn't ever see anything on this road. So we're gonna have to find something. I haven't even been seeing too many trucks on this road. But like I said to you, these roads go through phases. Where you have some roads that frequently use, you see tracks there all the time, like Zoe's recently. Western Quarantine went through a phase like that a couple months ago. A little bit further back actually, maybe even a year ago. It was during lockdown time. So maybe Gallagher shortcut is just going through a bit of a down. A bit of a low. Mandy, you'd like to know if 2 leopards can live in one territory? Yes, that can happen if they're of a different sex. So males and females can have overlapping territory, and that doesn't matter. So territory is protected against members of the same species and the same sex. So males will defend their territory against other males, not other females. Females defend their territory against other females, not other males. The other reason that 2 leopards would be in the same territory is if it's a cub that's still dependent on their mother. But two males will not share a territory, two females will not share a territory. There may be a portion of each of their territories that can overlap for just a small section. But that's it. The whole point of having a territory is to keep it as your own. Often see tracks, yeah. It's a good indication sometimes. Actually, you know what we're going to do? Let's take Mvubu past the dam. Haven't driven it from this side in a while. Feels very quiet this afternoon. Haven't seen many vehicles even. Hi Adrian, you're 12 years old. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sure you're having a good time and you're loving the animals. Adrian would like to know, how long in a day do leopards sleep for? Not as long as lions do. Actually, let's start that again. Predators like leopards and lions, they rest a lot during the day. But they're not always fully asleep. So it's kind of like when you're just lying down, but you are not asleep, you're not dreaming or anything like that, but you're relaxing. They do a lot of that. Lions, 18 to 20 hours a day, they can do that, with bits of sleep in between. Leopards can also do that for 8 hours in a day if they want to. Especially that time kind of between 10 a.m. in the winter and about 5 or 6 p.m. because that's when it's the hottest. So during the hottest times, they'll be resting a lot, but they're not fully asleep. Ooh. Just wait, it's a ground hornbill. They're not fully asleep, Adrian. The amount they'll actually be fully asleep is only a few hours in a day, but they'll rest for about 8 to 10 hours in a day. I just don't want it to fly away. It's moving, it'll come through. Also, Adrian, it depends on what's going on. If it has a kill, it might be more active during the day. Let's just roll a little bit. See the two of them there. She's just... There it walks out there. There we go. Just moved. I hope you caught a glimpse of it there. I didn't on screen. I'll try and move forward. There isn't any road to tuck into here. There's a gap there. Oh, there they are. Two ground hornbills doing their school rounds. They always look like teachers walking around the school quad, hands behind their backs. Off they go into that silver cluster leaf thicket. Really nice big birds. They're almost 4 kgs or so, each one of them. That was a nice treat. Let's just get another view of them. A really important bird species. They're listed as vulnerable in southern Africa. And the majority of the populations, the majority of the individuals that we have around here are actually just in the protected areas, not much outside of that. And there's only about 600-700 birds in this Greater Kruger area. Anyway, I'm almost at Mvubu. I'm going to tack down, see what else we can find.
We have received our second batch of name plaques, which is super exciting, and Marcel is busy mounting them as we speak. For those of you that don't know, we are offering the opportunity for Wild Earth explorers to get their names engraved on a plaque like this. Once your name is on the plaque, it will then be attached onto the vehicle. Marcel, what are you up to?
I'm busy mounting plaques on Trusty Rusty.
This means that even though you're at home watching this, it'll still feel as though you're on the vehicle with us as we bumble about the bush. This means that V&A, Prajash, Melanie Greenwood, Linda J. Poley and Stephen Humbert will be riding along with us as we bumble through the bush, even though you're watching it from home. Now that the name plaques are on the back of the vehicle, it's time for us to head out and go and see what we can find.
Founded in 1973, the Endangered Wildlife Trust has consistently and effectively worked towards achieving our conservation legacy. Contribute to this legacy by visiting EWT's Get Wild eShop and purchase products with a purpose.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This is officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
So I've managed to get onto Mvubu now, and I just saw some male leopard tracks exiting at Mvubu, going towards Tamboti Dam. Tamboti Dam is an area that, in fact, that crossing coming out of Mvubu and crossing Buffelsakatla to Tamboti Dam is a route that I've seen Tingana use a lot. So perhaps it's his tracks. They weren't very clear. They weren't terribly, terribly fresh. So I would say maybe last night or even yesterday in the day. I just got sent a picture of the dam cam, or rather a picture of the dam cam of a vervet monkey that's got its face right up and close to the camera at the dam cam. You know, the camera that we use that's there at Viatella Dam. Sometimes when our vehicles are having to be fixed, something's wrong with them, then we set up the dam cam and use it. That is so cool to see. Vervet monkeys are in a class of their own when it comes to entertainment value and confidence. Gosh, they have so much confidence. The other day, one just strolled into my room as if he was looking for somebody else, and they just mistakenly walked into my room. No reaction when I looked at it until I shouted. Just like strolled in, looking from side to side. And when he turned around and left, it was like a human saying, "Oh, sorry, wrong room." Little did I know he had just walked out of Lauren's room and straight into mine. The stomachs are growling. That's about the most I can hear at the moment. I have visions of Eggs Benedict. I don't think we're going to get that. Anyway, let me send you back over to Steve and see what he's been up to.
No, Trish, you can't put thoughts like that in my head with half an hour to go. Now all Gert and I are going to think about is Eggs Benedict. Well, everybody, we've been on tour, and it seems like after you last had us, we were struggling to find signal, but we didn't struggle to find Tandy, and we found her. She gave us a bit of a run around, and she's moving north on the eastern sides of Chitwa, so she might be on Portwood later, but unfortunately, we were not able to broadcast her to you. But now we've got a magnificent quick bull standing vigil with the warthog to his side there, feeding. Trying to figure out what he's looking at. I think it might be warthogs. It's a few of the warthogs walking around. These animals don't like small things walking around in the grass. They often think that they're predatory. But he's a magnificent specimen. Look at the size of his neck. Size of his neck. Thick, broad. Oh, no, let's get a shot how big he is. You can see how walking through bushes is not easy for a bull with horns on the back of his head. Top of his head, he's actually got to dip back slightly. It is a disadvantage to have horns in the savannah, unless you use them for fighting and defense. Don't serve any other purpose.
Kudus will sometimes use the horns to break branches to make foliage more available to them. But if the horns served more purpose, the females would have them as well, and they do not. So a big bull like that, when he runs, he has to put his head all the way back so as to put the horns down on the back of his body to clear and go through vegetation. Very heavy as well. They add enormous amounts of weight to the animal, and they help with strengthening the neck. Used for fighting, of course. I think he's got the smell of a female in his nostrils. Yes, he does. Said, okay, there's lots of diseases out there. TB is one kudu can contract. Let me go back. Okay, let's see if we can get you them again. There's a lot of wildlife diseases. Many of the animals are quite immune to them, but anthrax is definitely one that kudu can get. It affects them. It affects many of our cloven-hooved animals. Anthrax. It's a natural indigenous disease, as with many of the other diseases. And many animals do succumb to it, but it's here in the Kruger, they don't wipe out huge populations. They do affect a select number, and then individuals generally develop an immunity, and they're able to survive many of those diseases. But anthrax outbreaks definitely are something that affects kudu. There he is, kudu and impala population. Is that a
Sorry about that, guys. I'm sure we'll get Steve back in a bit. We've just come around Gallagher Pan. Now we've taken that little link road off from Vubu to have a look down here. I always look through this drainage that's off to my left because I remember following Hosanna through there. Yep. Before. So many times, actually. Nothing going on at the pan. So a quick stop over here. Hi, Jerome. You'd like to know if animals ever damage the dam cam? I mean, to be honest, I'm not too familiar with the maintenance of the dam cam. It's usually Alex and Marcel that deal with it. But I have heard of elephants pulling wires before. But apart from that, I don't recall too much damage to the dam cam. But I'll ask Alex today if there's been any terrible dam cam incidences. I think that most animals, because animals are not destructive for no reason. So I mean, the dam cam's not doing much. So I can't imagine that a baboon would just try and rip it off. Perhaps by mistake, an elephant might bump it, or when they're digging, take out a wire or something like that. But I'll ask Alex. Okay, not much happening at the pan. But what was nice about this vervet monkey's face that he had sent me from the dam cam is it lets it means that vervet monkey knows that there's something there. Obviously, it doesn't know it's a camera or anything like that, but it could recognize that it's the front of something. I mean, it could also just be a coincidence that it looked directly into this front of the camera, but it almost looked like a bit of recognition, as if it knew it was the front of that object or whatever. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Hello, little dwarfie. Have you ever climbed up and looked into the dam cam? No, but I've seen you guys climb. Love dwarf mongoose. Little chocolates. They're more around. They're definitely around, but they're all out foraging at the moment, so they might be spread out. Hi, Vivian. You'd like to know what other animals come into our camp? Hyenas, they're always in the camp, and they're just so... Okay, we're just going to park here and watch, because see some movement around there. So Vivian, hyenas definitely, sometimes they just park and... they don't park. We are parking here. They stand and watch us having dinner sometimes, especially Tswazi. Tswazi stands near the fence and he'll look to come in, and then we'll shout, and then he'll stop and he'll just watch while we're having dinner. I've once had Tswazi run past the dinner table, or was it breakfast? I think it was breakfast that time, so fast that he kicked up sand into my plate. So they're frequent visitors. Leopards, you often see leopard tracks through the camp. Civets, there's a civet that used to come round to the downstairs rooms quite a bit. Mongoose, there's a whole business of mongoose around the top half of the camp. Get puff adders and the Mozambican spitting cobra. The cobra is still around camp. I haven't seen a puff adder in a bit. Squirrels all over. Vervet monkeys all the time. Baboons, not so much. When we used to use Inga's house, they used to come through there a lot, but in the DRC, you don't get too many baboons. Nyala, bushbuck, they're always hanging around, especially nice bachelor herds of Nyala. Sometimes there's three that are frequenters of the DRC and the new rooms at the bottom. But sometimes they get some more mates of theirs, and there's about 7 of them that just roam around. Bushbuck, there's about 2 that I see fairly often. Oh, and elephants. We get elephants, especially towards the drainage by Galago Pan. Daniela, you say dwarf mongoose are the cutest? They really are. Very, very cute. It's nice to catch a glimpse of them at this time because, like I said, they usually spread out quite a lot. Foraging. So in the morning, just as the sun's starting to warm everything up, and in the evening, just before there's still some warmth before the sun goes down, that's the best time to see them because they're all kind of congregating around their mound for that night or from the night before. So you'll see them in the morning. That's the best time because they're all kind of out and about and they're all in the same spot. We're quite far away from it, but it's still so aware of our presence. just a speck. Oh, Vivian, we also have a rock monitor. Monitor lizard. Or bushveld monitor. It hangs around camp. Poor guy. Go find your family. There we go. Just see it running around the corner. All right, let me send you over to Pidda. They've got even more lions. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just cruise.
Welcome back to Ambient Panda, where unfortunately our black rhino search hasn't gone too well, but today seems to be a day of lions. We've managed to catch up with, or courtesy of one of the other vehicles in the area, with the dominant male lion, or the surviving dominant male lion from the south of Ambient Panda. And he's in the company of the other pride of lions that I mentioned earlier, the pride from the far south. And it looks like all of the members of the pride are here. There's 3 lionesses and 2 sub-adults, 2 smaller cubs. There's one of the adult lionesses over there, lying in the sun. And the other lions are kind of scattered around in these low-growing guaris around us. There we go, there's one of the little sub-adult males. Who just got rather unceremoniously battered away by one of the adult lionesses. So taking it easy, looking rather sorry for himself. They're kind of, like I said, resting in the shade of these low-growing guaris. They're quite close to a waterhole. And having a look around us, Johan and I were just remarking as we drove up this hillside just how many impala and warthogs and inyala we were seeing in the area. The grass up here is super lush, super green, and it's just been a magnet for all kinds of animals. And that's why these lions are here. There's a lot of prey around for them. And we spoke earlier about how sometimes in winter time the lions in the dry season that's coming will start to just kind of wait around waterholes in the hope that an unsuspecting animal comes down for a drink and they can then pounce on them. Looking at these lions' tummies though, look at that young male walking there. See how his belly's bulging? I don't think these lions are terribly hungry at the moment. They all look like they've eaten well. Oh, look what he's doing. He's going to go and smell where that big male is. Wise not to get too close to Dad. See the male lifting his head? Flutterby, you're asking what happened to this male's brother or his coalition partner. Flutterby, it was quite an extreme and an interesting series of events that led to him losing his brother. And to explain, I'm going to ask you just to pan away from the lion for a second so that I can show you a map of the reserve, because it's quite an interesting story. So here's the map in front of me here. And if you have a look, obviously this is the whole game reserve. We are currently kind of here, up in the mountains over here, and this pride of lionesses, the Bayala pride, their territory kind of extends in this area here, south of the mountains. The pride that we saw earlier, those lionesses make their territory in this area kind of north of the mountains, but below the woodlands and the forests of the north. And this male lion and his brother dominate, or when they were together, so now it's him by himself, he presides over kind of both of these lioness territories, and kind of that's his territory there. Then in the north of the reserve up here, there's another pride of lionesses that have two big males that live in this area here. And so what happened, Flutterby, is one night these two males were left not far from where we are right now. They were seen resting on the edge of the mountain, moving from this part of their territory to this part of their territory to go out on a territorial patrol. And the next morning, we followed their tracks, kind of all the way through here, up towards the airstrip, and then around up here. And this took us about an hour to follow this tracks from about there to there. In the meantime, there were vehicles driving out of our northern lodges who were searching for the two male lions from up north. And they were following their tracks around here. And suddenly we heard over the radio that they had found 4 male lions, which meant that the male lions we were following had somehow wound up there. And looking at the tracks later on in that day, we figured out that the two males from the south had gone up here and the males from the north had come down here, and they'd met up. And what happened is that the two males from the south chased the males from the north, and they chased them way up here in through the woodlands, and eventually wound up around this little area over here, and the two males from the south lay down to rest. They'd managed to single out one of the north males and chase him, and they chased him and chased him and chased him, roaring at him the whole time, and eventually that male managed to escape and he fled into these grasslands up here. The two males from the south lay down to rest in territory they'd never been into before, as far as we know. That night, the second male from the north came looking for his brother, and the two males from the south found him and chased him into the same area. And then they were lost going into the grassland. Unfortunately, that grassland, the soil there is very clayey, and at the time we had a bit of rain. This was about maybe close to 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks ago that this happened. And so the vehicles couldn't follow them any further. Over the few days subsequent to that incident, we saw the two males from the north. One of them was quite badly injured. You could see on his face where a lion had scratched him across his face with some very clear claw marks across his nose and across his face, and his paw was very badly damaged. It looked like a lion had been biting and chewing on it. There was a piece of skin that was hanging from his paw. He looked really bad, and he was walking with quite a heavy limp. And his brother looked also not as badly injured, but his eye was kind of swollen closed, and there was liquid that was seeping out of his eye. But we only saw this male from the coalition of males from the south. And you can't really see it now because of the way he's lying, but he's also got some pretty bad scars on his face, a pretty bad puncture wound behind one of his eyes, and then a bad gash behind the other. And we waited and waited, and we never saw his brother, but we didn't give up hope just yet, because, I mean, their territory is so big and they don't always move around together. You could have one male with one pride, one male with the other pride, one male by himself patrolling the territory. So we weren't too worried. But then after about a week, we started to get a bit more and more concerned after no one had seen any signs of him, not even tracks. And then, I think it was last week, when one of the rangers from the north, some of you may remember him because he used to present here on Wild Earth, Dumi found the decomposing body of the other male in that grassland in the far north. So what we think happened is that because they were chasing, the two males from the south were chasing those males from the north into almost like the corner of the reserve where they couldn't run anymore, and the two males from the north turned around and stood their ground, and a fight broke out, and somewhere along the line somehow the two males from the south must have gotten split up, and this male must have fled, leaving his brother behind, and then two male lions against one, they killed him. Looking at the carcass, it had been quite badly decomposed by the time that we found it, or that Dumi found it at least. But looking at the body, the way that he was lying, it didn't look like anything had really fed, or anything large had fed on the carcass, only small things. Maybe a couple of jackals had pulled little bits of meat here and there, but nothing had really disturbed the way that the body was lying. And his body was quite badly contorted, and his spine was broken, so it looked like the other males broke his back, which is quite typical of how male lions will kill other male lions. They'll often also mutilate their genital regions, and then if it's 2 against 1, there's quite a famous video on YouTube of a coalition of male lions from the Sabi Sands fighting with another coalition where the one male grabs onto this other male's back and bites down, and you can apparently hear the sound of the spine cracking, and that looks quite similar to what happened to this male's brother. So a very sad story, but that is what male lions do. And these males went looking for trouble. They pushed, I suppose, they pushed into territory that wasn't theirs to go and challenge those males from the north, and the males from the north did what these males would have done if they had found themselves in the same situation. They were just trying to defend themselves, defend their territory, and get rid of competition. But yeah, it's as sad as it is part of lion biology and what lions do. Johan and I are going to maybe try and reposition around that side so we can show you this male lion's face. You can see the scars that he's got.
If you love to watch Wild Earth, then we are inviting you to join our Explorers program. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions, join our guides for a chat around the fire, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn allows us to escape into nature every single day.
And I find getting out to a local royal park brings me so much closer to nature. I can leave my pain at home. And like watching Wild Earth, I find it's the most amazing way to step out of life's difficulties and just breathe.
The chirping and fluttering of these Java finches at the feeder in our garden helps us start each day joyfully in connection with nature.
So this is our piece of nature that we've been enjoying and has been keeping us sane during lockdown. This morning we have 8 oyster catches on our beach, which is a real treat.
Hug a tree, Steve, just for you.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at and beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through and beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
So Johan and I have managed to reposition the vehicle ever so slightly, trying to get a view of the male lion's face for you. And it's not easy to see, but if you look closely at his right eye, can you see just the scars there? But even that scar, so behind his left eye, so the eye that's high up in the screen, when we first saw him, there was quite a bad wound there that was seeping or producing quite a lot of discharge after the fight. And that seems to have already healed itself up quite nicely. We've spoken about it before, but it's recovery that these wounds that on humans would leave or would take long to heal. Lions seem to get over them pretty quickly. But yeah, he definitely seems to have gotten off lightly compared to, of course, his brother, but also compared to that one male from the north, because he looks like his face has been through a paper shredder. Quite a poetic scene there. Look at that young male, the sub-adult male, lying there next to his father. Look at how full that male lion's belly is. Sure, whatever was killed, he obviously got a good amount of food from it. Or a wildebeest. Whatever it was enough to feed the whole pride. It's pretty small bit of shade that these lions have got. There's a young red ivory tree that is casting that shadow onto that male lion. But I think when the sun gets a bit higher, that shade is gonna all but disappear. There's a couple of thickets though around us, and I'm sure that these lions will move into that shade once the sun does get a bit higher. With their bellies being nice and full, they're probably not going to be moving too far or too urgently. They've got water nearby, so if they want to go and drink. Oh, there's an alarm call here in the Anyala, barking. I think it's probably spotted. It's one of the sub-adult lions. One of the sub-adult lions is moving around off to our right. It's a bit difficult to see it. Looks like, and that's what the Anyala has seen. So sounding the alarm. But see that alarm call got the attention of the lionesses. They all sat up to listen. So no luck with our black rhino today, but it was awesome to see all those different tracks and signs left by them. And it sounds like it's been a wonderful morning this morning. Johan and I are going to start to make our way back home for some breakfast. Hope that you've all enjoyed this morning's game drive, and we look forward to seeing you all again this afternoon on the Sunset Safari.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Sunset Safari, coming to you live here from Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. It is a wonderfully chilly-ish warm combined afternoon. It is nice and overcast. The sun is coming through the clouds to give this wonderful winter-autumn coloration. And it's not only myself out and about